All right, it's a little bit early, but we thought, hey, everybody's here. You guys want to get started? Cool. Welcome to our 2022 clinics. My name's Jerry. I have to tell you that because I forgot my badge. It's in my truck. The one that usually tows the trailer. So I change vehicles. I forget them. I might have to get another badge and put it in my other car. Okay, we can start off. Okay, Mark's our next presenter.
Okay, and mine, I did a video.
Well, welcome back to the railroad, everyone. As you can see, it's winter here, and this is just December. However, for our train clinics for 2022, I'm going to build a carrier for your train. So come on along and see what I did.
As most of you already know, I bought about 20 of these intermodal cars that were in really rough shape. I made new parts for many of them, and then I realized a lot of the parts I've been making break really easily if the cars aren't handled correctly and gently. And so my big decision, how do I carry these cars to train shows and keep them in one piece? Well, here is my answer. I made carrying cases that support the cars on both sides, both ends, and keep them from moving in any direction. Not only can these cases be made to carry container cars, you can also carry containers with some of the cars. And going one step further, I made other size cases that will carry entire trains, engines, battery packs, anything you may need. First, we're going to take a look at one of the carrying boxes for the container trains. You will find that the container cars are protected in the middle and at both ends. This being the case because all the delicate parts are on both ends. It would be a different situation for standard train cars. And when we take a look at the carrying case for standard train cars, you'll find that the only difference is the height of the shelves, and everything else, all the materials, are the same. So here I've done two drawings, one for the container carrying case and the other for a standard train car carrying case. As you compare the two together, you're going to see that the only difference is the height of the shelves and the length of each shelf. So looking at this diagram that I've drawn out for the dimensions on the boxes, you'll see that each shelf is 3/16 of an inch plywood. Also, you'll find that the back, sides, and the front are all the same 3/16 of an inch plywood. Looking a little further at this diagram, you're going to see that the top and the bottom are 3/8 of an inch plywood. So I started with a sheet of 3/16 plywood. I laid out the front, the back panels, both side panels, and all of the shelves for each box I made. After those were all cut out, I used a piece of 3/8 plywood to lay out the top panel and the bottom shelf. Next, I needed a bunch of 1/2 inch by 3/4 inch blocking to stiffen the corners of the boxes and to add some guides for my doors. So,
Okay, now we need to cut these 2x4s up into 4 pieces lengthwise, and then split that diagonally into 8 pieces. So we want to end up with 8 sticks that we can use to build these. That's almost perfect.
now that we have most of the pieces cut, we're going to start layout and then assembly. So first we mark where all the shelves will sit on the inside of the back.
5 shelves.
Next we lay out in a grid fashion the bracing for the shelves and corners of the box. As you can see here, they are glued and then brad nailed into place. Next you attach the sides and the bottom, and then we add the blocks on both sides for each shelf. At this stage of the build, I attached the hinge. I used a piano hinge that would go all the way across the bottom so everything is sealed up nicely. Next, I attach the casters, as this is a perfect time to get to this work area and still have room to do this. Next, we notch the front and rear of each shelf to fit around the blocking. Then we add a guide for the train trucks, which is 1.5 inches by 1/4 of an inch tall. This will be glued into place and then brad nailed.
Okay, so we center it right on the 3 inches, because this is exactly 6 inches deep. Once it's centered fairly well, it's not rocket science, we don't have to be exacting. Then I give it a line along the back so I can always replace it right where it was. Glue. Glue to your own liking. I don't want it squishing out all over, but I also want it to hold well. Brad nail it, about 5 nails, 5 brads. Just something to help it get a good hold on there. And file.
The next step is to glue and brad nail each of the shelves in place, starting with the lowest shelf working up so that you'll be able to get the brad nailer in. When those are all securely brad nailed into place, it's time to attach the top, again using glue and brad nails. The next step is cutting your foam. I purchased a sheet of foam 1 inch thick. Depending on the size of your shelves, your foam will normally reach 1 inch from the top and go down to 1 inch from the bottom. So an 8-inch shelf would only be a 6-inch tall piece of foam.
So I cut my foam. Now the size you'll need for these, and you should always use gloves, mask, and glasses, protective glasses, when you're doing this spray foam. This stuff is terrible, or spray adhesive. This stuff is terrible. Okay, the sizes I cut were 12-inch long by 4-inch high. Those are for the back and the front. The ends are 4 inches by 4 inches. Okay. And they advise that you shake this up, so you should shake it up a little.
Our next step is to apply the foam on the inside and the ends, making sure that you spray both the back of the foam and the back of the cabinet to make sure you have good contact. Also, you want to let it set for a few seconds before you attach the foam onto the back of the cabinet. Next step, I've taken the door and drawn lines right where the shelves will hit the door on the inside edge. This is so we can place the foam where it will not get hit by the shelf when we close the door. Next, I set the door in place and attach it to the piano hinge. Our next step is to glue and brad nail in a guide on the inside edge of the front door on each side. Next, I cut 3 sections of 1-inch strapping material, approximately 6 to 8 inches long, depending on your preference. Next, I cut 3 pieces of 1-inch wide Velcro in 2-inch long sections each. I then attach the Velcro to the front of the door and to the end of the strap, wrap the strap around the top of the box, and staple the strap into the box and staple the Velcro into the door of the box. And last but not least, we attach handles to the top of the box. This concludes the build of my first 4 train boxes. One thing that I have been made aware of is that the door is an obstruction when you're trying to load your trains in and out. So there's a possibility that a removable door could be made. Something for a future video. Now for the material costs as of August of 2021. A sheet of 3/16 plywood, $21. A partial sheet of 3/8 plywood, $10. Bolts, nuts, washers, brads, and glue, $10. Handles, roughly $10. Wheels, $25. Miscellaneous wood strips, $10. A sheet of foam, $30. Total costs, $116, more or less. Thank you very much, and please don't forget to tip the waiter or waitress.
I will basically tell you that I got tired of trying to carry all my trains. So, plus, I went out and bought 20 different rail cars. These are the container cars, of which I've already sold a couple to Chuck. And my wife's train, which she threatened me if I try to sell this thing. Yeah, my wife does fantasy trains. So I needed boxes to carry trains around, and I found these great wheel sets where you don't have to worry about getting them in alignment. I will place my video online for everybody to see. Whoops. But these boxes can carry not only your train cars, engines, anything else. And they're fairly easy to get your cars in and out. Keep from breaking the ladders, of which this one's already broken. But that was the main part, the main reason I did these was I had a lot of delicate pieces on these cars that kept breaking when I put them in boxes to carry them. So I created these cases to help me keep from breaking these things. In my video, I describe how I actually went about making these. Some of the changes that I do, though, that are to make it again, thanks to Jerry, is I wouldn't leave these doors as just hinged. I would actually make them a separate unit that could just be pulled off, put around back with Velcro to keep it in place, so you could actually walk up close and get into these. But something like this will keep you from having to carry boxes around. They're not that heavy. This is the only one that doesn't have swivel rollers on it. This actually is an old refrigerator casters. So the rest of these are just a few different pieces and parts. The foam sheets cost me about $30 a piece. The plywood, miscellaneous pieces inside, it totaled $116 to build each box roughly. And that's with a lot of plywood left over, so you can see that they're not too bad. I just did them haphazardly. Some of the things are working okay, some aren't. Some of the Velcros don't stick too well. But that's one version of carry cases. I was trying to think of other things I may have said on the video, but the basics are just that we needed something to carry our trains around. And a lot of you may have seen this type of box, or may have built these yourselves. And I actually got the idea from Brent Stuvland. Some of the trains he gave me had boxes like these. I improved on it a little bit. Some of the other changes I would do on these boxes, though, is I wouldn't use these solid clamps. I would use a Velcro and put Velcro straps across so you could adjust in case you had a little wider engine or less wide. One of the things I did with this other one was, because most of us are battery powered, I put a track ramp in so that when you do have an engine that you want to run off onto the tracks, you can just drop it, power it up, and run it off. And these are tapered down, so they'll run right into the mainline tracks. Plus, on the bottom, I've cut trenches in, so it sits right down into the top of a track.
Good thinking.
Okay. Oh, and while I've got everybody's attention, if anybody is interested in these cars, I'm selling, is this the one full? Yeah. This one for $400, which is $50 per container, and $100 for the case. And the other one, yeah, this one, I'm selling for $350. case and all the cars, because it's missing one. Any questions? Yes?
So I see that you've got a square, basically a dowel there just to hold the car in place.
Right, that's
Did you-
actually trim wood.
Did you try anything else, like putting the groove in there for the wheels to drop in, or any
I actually-
thoughts on different ways to do it?
I actually did do grooves on some of them, but seeing as this is only 3/16 wood, I didn't want to try grooving this one.
Yeah.
And the trim wood that I actually picked up free in Tacoma years ago, and I still have quite a supply of, was just the right spacing, just about 43 millimeters, so came in just what a track would be. So, yes?
Where did you pick up the roll-around wheels that are multi-directional?
Home Depot, $25 a set. So, yeah, and I think those came in a 2-pack, so. No, they don't, they weren't. They were 2 for $25, yeah. Anyone else? Okay. I think that's all I have today.
How can you couple those together and form a train?
I wish I could. I haven't developed that yet.
There's another idea.
Yeah.
I imagine you probably want to size them to fit your vehicle too.
That's true. I had to bring my pickup truck today for all 4 of them.
Hey, Mark,
Yes.
when you transport those, do you transport them vertically?
No.
And
Lay 'em
stack
down. Lay them down, I stack them.
Okay.
Yep. And actually, the way they are, the way they're built, you can have the cars upside down and it's not going to do any damage because they're solid in there. They don't move.
And the next magic trick is?
Thank you, Jerry.
Nice work, Mark.
Thank you.
Getting up to me on time so we can have a good day. So we're going to start out with Norm.